So let me give you just a word.
Oh. Hey, Skylar, you stick your head in the door. Let me know if I can start. Lie, 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 lie. Yai, lie, 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 lie. Yai, lie, 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 lie. Yai, lie, 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 lie. Yai, lie, 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 lie. Yai, lie, 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 lie. Yai, lie, lie, yai, lie, lie, yai, lie, 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 yai, lie, 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 lie. Yai, lie, 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 lie. Yai, lie, 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 lie. Yai, lie, 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 lie. Yai, lie, 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 lie. Yai, lie, 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 lie. Yai, lie, 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 lie. Yai, lie, lie, yai, lie, 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 lie. Yai, lie, lie, yai, lie, lie, yai, lie, 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 yai, lie, 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 lie. Shabbat Shalom. I'm welcoming everybody who's out here on the courtyard, but those of you watching online, we're out here on the courtyard of Congregation Beth Emek. It is, again, an incredibly beautiful Shabbat evening here outdoors. We're so fortunate to have this beautiful space in which to worship. Those of you watching online, we're really glad that you're worshiping with us as well. And you could follow along in our prayer book. You could find the prayer book on our website, bethemek.org. You'll see under virtual resources, you'll see a link to our prayer book, Mishkan Tefillah. You'll also see a link to a song sheet for Shabbat, so I invite you to open up that song sheet as well so that you can follow along with a few of the songs that aren't in the prayer book. We're going to begin our worship this evening with lighting Shabbat candles. And our candles will be lit by tomorrow morning's bat mitzvah, Alana Sexton, along with their parents, Donna and Leaf, and their sister Amaya. And I invite you to turn in the prayer book to page 3. Okay, so before you light, Leaf, you read first, right there.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Amen. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
You know, it's the season when a lot of our parents have children off at summer camp. And the Torah teaches us a little bit about this topic, particularly in this week's Parsha. This is a poem written for Parshat Akev, this week's Torah portion. This poem is called Parenting Lessons from the Holy One. It's by Rick Lupert. And he begins by quoting a text from this week's Parsha, which says, "Do not say to yourself, because of my righteousness, God has brought me to possess this land." We brought our kid to Jewish summer camp 2 weeks ago. We armed him with all the socks he could need, face masks in his preferred color, and every essential one could need in the wilderness. All we asked was that he write us postcards, even just one, so we had a sense that he was alive. We wrote him by the system provided every single day, but our trips to the mailbox proved fruitless. We made it so easy. The postcards already stamped and with our address on them. They were tiny too, barely spaced to write 3 words. He could have written, "I am alive." Even send back a blank postcard, and he could tell us later he thought we were psychic. I would have found that hilarious. But now, less than a week before we pick him up, and we don't even know if he'll still be there, we'll dutifully show up. We'll pile his dirt into our trunk. We'll take him to brunch. We'll take him to goddamn Hawaii. We won't do these things to reward righteous behavior, but because this is what he has been promised. This is our obligation as parents. We would bring him to the wilderness and then carry him back across the river to his promised land. This is how the Israelites got across their river, despite decades of complaining and a golden calf, despite rebellions and broken tablets. The parent of all parents would not leave his children in the desert, and neither will we. Those of us who have been there can truly relate to this parasha. Well, this week I do want to focus a little bit on some musical settings that were composed by Israeli composers. That's what we're going to hear more later on from Sophie Cooper about Israel. So here's a melody composed by Mordechai Ze'ira, one of the most famous of mid-20th century Israeli composers, for Lecha Dodi. And while Lecha Dodi is in the prayer book on page 20, this particular setting has a word that's not there. It's in the songbook on page 19, or if you're watching online, on the song sheet on page 1. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nikabla, nikabla. Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nikabla, nikabla. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom u'mevorach. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom u'mevorach. Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nikabla, nikabla. Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nikabla, nikabla. Page 26 in the prayer book. Alana, would you like to help me with leading Chatzi Kaddish?
Yikadal v'yikadashime rabba.
Amen.
Bialma divarach kirte v'yamlich malhute.
Bechaye chod uvyom echod uchaye dechol Beit Yisrael. Bagala, bagala, uvismad kari.
V'meru.
Amen.
Yehesh
me rabba mevorach.
Le'olam
Olol me'ol maya. Yitbarach.
Yitbarak v'yishtabach. V'ba'ar v'draman v'naseh. V'tadar v'tale v'talal. Shemei dekudashah. Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Damiran bialma. V'meru.
Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Baruchu et Adonai, Hamevorach, Hamevorach. Baruch Adonai, Hamevorach, Le'olam, Le'olam va'ed. Praise be the one to whom our praise is due. Praise be the one to whom our praise is due. Praise be the one to whom our praise is due. Now and forever. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai. You may be seated. Let's continue reading together on page 30. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chokhmah poteach she'arim, uvitvuna mishane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umisader et hakochavim במishmaroteam barakia kirtzono. Borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, uma'avir yom u'mevi layla, uma'avdil bein yom u'vein layla, Adonai tzvaot shemo. El chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed, Baruch ata Adonai, ha'ma'ariv aravim. Page 32. Everlasting love you offered your people Israel, by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch ata Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. This is also an Israeli melody for Shema, written by Tzvika Pick. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch shekivod, kivod malchuto, leolam va'ed. Baruch shekivod, kivod malchuto, leolam va'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alevavecha v'shinatam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shiftecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech uv'shokbecha uv'kumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot beineinecha uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha uv'isharecha leman tizkaru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kedoshim lelohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem lelohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Page 43. Let's read at the bottom of the page together. Give us a place to rest, Adonai our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth, prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch ata Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. There's a setting for Hashkivenu in your songbook, those sitting here on the courtyard, in the songbook on page 13, and those watching online on the song sheet on page 5. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom V'hamidenu shomreinu your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Ashkiveinu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, Hamideinu shomreinu l'chaim. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Ashkiveinu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, V'hamideinu shomreinu Page 45 in the prayer book. We are a people in whom the past endures, in whom the present is inconceivable without moments gone by. The Exodus lasted a moment enduring forever. What happened once upon a time happens all the time. Page 46. This is a setting for the meditation before the Amidah, popular at Beit Tfilah Yisraeli, a synagogue that meets on the beach in Tel Aviv. Please rise. Yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai. Adonai, Sifatai Tivtah, Ufi Yagid, Tehilatecha. Adonai, Sifatai Tivtah, Ufi Yagid, Tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hadorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Gula Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo Bi'ava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, V'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor L'olam Adonai, B'chayei HaKol atah Rav L'Hoshia, Morid Hatal, Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechayei HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayim Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Micha Mocha Bal Givurot, Umido Melach, melech memid, umechayeh, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman ata l'chayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yihallelu Selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. You may be seated. Let's continue on page 57. We read together. Ever-present one, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayer, wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land, in Zion restored, in all lands. You are our God, whom alone we serve and reverence. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadacha v'yirah na'avod. Page 59. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. Page 60. Shalom Raham al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Raham al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom raham al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom raham al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rahav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rahav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. There are words for silent prayer on pages 62 and 63. The bottom of page 62. This is an Israeli setting for Oseh Shalom by Yoel Sykes. Oseh Shalom bimroma, Ru'yaseh Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru. At this time in our worship, we ask for healing for members of our congregation and their loved ones who are ill. If you are praying for healing of body or healing of spirit for a loved one, I invite you to share that name out loud as my eyes pass yours. Those of you watching on Zoom, please share the names of people for whom you are praying in the chat. Start over here. O God, in our hearts we name those who are facing illness and pain. We join our prayers with the prayers of all who love them. Give them renewed comfort and courage. Strengthen in them the healing powers you have placed within us all. Guide the hands and hearts of those who are entrusted with their care. May the knowledge of your love and ours give added hope to our dear ones. May they find even greater strength because our prayers are linked with theirs. May you bring healing to all who are afflicted by the pandemic of our time, and may you protect all those who labor on their behalf. Baruch atah Adonai, Rofei HaCholim. We praise you, God, the source of healing. Let us say together, Amen. You could find words for Misha Berach in the prayer book on page 253. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Well, I am thrilled to invite Sophie Cooper to give the sermon this evening. Sophie has just returned from a semester abroad at Heller High in Israel, and this is fantastic. She's not the first of our congregants to have attended Heller High, but she sure did attend at a rather striking time in Israel. And she's going to tell us all about that. And she shared with me some of the things that she wanted to share with you. So many of them resonated with me. Many of them may resonate with you if you have spent time in Israel. But one thing in particular that probably very few of you have done is actually lived at the same kibbutz that Sophie lived at. And I did. I happened to be fortunate enough to have lived at kibbutz Suba during the time when I spent my first time in Israel, my first time after college going to Israel and studying, learning Hebrew there. It's a little nicer now than it was then. It was a little more rustic. You had slightly better accommodations than I had. But other than that, your description of the kibbutz rings so true. So, Sophie, thank you for speaking with us this evening. It's all yours.
This year, I had the incredible opportunity to spend a semester abroad with URJ Heller High. For those of you who may be unfamiliar, Heller High is an American school in Israel offering semester study abroad programs for Jewish teens grades 10 through 12. The academic portion of the program is very much centered around Jewish studies and Hebrew. In the morning most days, we have about 3 hours of Jewish studies, followed by 2 hours of Hebrew. After lunch, we go into our general studies classes, which is a continuation of the classes we are studying at home, like science, math, English, etc. Heller High is located at Kibbutz Suba, which is nestled in the beautiful Judean hills, about 15 minutes south of Jerusalem. We stayed at the Suba Hotel and had classes and classrooms also located on the kibbutz. We ate in the Chadar with all the other kibbutz members, swam in the pool with the kibbutz kids, and shopped in the kibbutz market. I think this is one of the coolest and most unique things about any study abroad program because of how immersed we were in the culture, rather than staying secluded on a campus specifically for the school, like many other programs in Israel set up that way. This was not my first semester abroad with Heller, as I was also a student of the spring semester of 2020, and after spending about 2 months there from January to March, we unfortunately had to leave with very short notice and cut the semester short due to the pandemic. I knew as soon as we were told we had to leave Israel that I wanted to come back the following year to complete a full semester. In a typical semester, classes will be about every day, with 1 half-day tiyul or trip per week and 1 full-day tiyul per week, with the exception of any overnights and longer trips. This was the outline I was familiar with in 2020, but this year the schedule looked different because although we were supposed to arrive in Israel in January, due to Israel going back into lockdown in January, we were unable to arrive until April, and the semester was then extended until July. We started Zoom classes in February, meaning when we arrived in April, our classes would be ending in 3 weeks, and the remaining time would be spent touring Israel. The biggest tiyul we took this semester, and the tiyul I will cherish the most, was our time spent in the north of Israel. We stayed for 1 week at a kibbutz called Dagan Yabet, which is right on the Sea of Galilee. Our activity-packed week was filled with kayaking on the Jordan River, trips to the Golan Heights, and viewing the Israel-Syria border, swimming in the Sea of Galilee, and visiting the city of Sfat. Directly following this, we spent 4 days in Eilat, where we swam and snorkeled in the Red Sea. Other notable tiyuls included many trips to Jerusalem and the Old City, where we walked the underground water tunnels and prayed at the Kotel. We spent time shopping in various shuks, such as the Machne Yehuda shuk in Jerusalem and Shuk HaCarmel in Tel Aviv, which were some of my favorite locations, as I get a thrill from the busy and slightly aggressive atmosphere created by loud but friendly bargaining and the art of the well-timed shoulder throw to push past someone, paired with the ever-so-innocent slicha, which means sorry. Or excuse me. We camped for 3 days in the Negev, where I discovered my fear for scorpions, which led me as far as refusing to put on my hiking shoes in the morning until my majacha shook them out for me, because I was convinced a scorpion had taken shelter there in the night. Side note, it hadn't. We floated in the Dead Sea, and we also stayed overnight in Bedouin tents and woke up at 4 a.m. to hike up Masada in time for the sunrise, where we did a meaningful student-led morning service. We visited a recreated Ethiopian village where we learned traditional Ethiopian dances, drank Ethiopian coffee, and learned about the refugee crisis in Ethiopia and Sudan. I was also in Israel during the stressful time when over 1,500 rockets were fired into Israel. Although most of the time we were very safe, we did have a bit of a scare as well. On the first day of the rockets, when Hamas was targeting Jerusalem, the kibbutz did get about 4 rockets. I remember our vice principal telling us that morning that Hamas is threatening to send rockets and showing us where the bomb shelters were. He said this very lightheartedly, and I don't think anyone expected Hamas to truly send the missiles and challenge the IDF. Then that evening we were in class when the sirens went off. We jumped up from our chairs and sprinted like our lives depended on it, which they did, to the nearest bomb shelter. About 30 seconds after we had made it there, we started hearing the explosions of the Iron Dome intercepting the rockets. One rocket landed in the field about 50 meters from us, and we watched the smoke rise into the sky as an IDF helicopter dropped down into the field to survey the damage. Afterwards, I was texting my family who lived in Israel to see if they're okay. And when my aunt responded to me, she included in her message the words, Am Yisrael Chai, which means the people of Israel live. This struck me with such emotion as I started to realize how Israelis treated events like this, not with fear, but with intense passion, patriotism, and love for their country, and willing to do whatever necessary to defend it. For the next few days after that, the administration worked closely with the intelligence unit to determine what places were safe to us to go to, on a day-by-day, hour-by-hour basis. For days after that, you could clearly hear explosions throughout the day and night in the distance, as the rockets were continually fired into Israel. Looking back on my semester, I think the most memorable and meaningful part of Heller High was our Yam El Yam trip. Yam El Yam, which literally means sea to sea, is a 60-mile, 5-day backpacking trip from the Sea of Galilee to the Mediterranean. Every day we walked anywhere from 8 to 13 miles in 95-degree weather and climbed elevations of over 4,000 feet, all while carrying packs filled with gallons of water, food, gas stove, pots, etc., while hiking what I consider to be some of the most breathtaking views in all of Israel. This is quite possibly one of the most physically challenging things I have ever endured in my life, and taught me the important lessons of teamwork, communications, and learning to accept help from others. On our 5th day, when we reached our final destination, the Mediterranean Sea, I was filled with an immense amount of pride and happiness, not only for me, but for the entire group, that we relied on each other and pulled one another through to the end. I will keep these memories from Yam El Yam with me and highly recommend that everyone experience something similar in their lifetime. Finally, one thing I really appreciate about the Heller High curriculum is the time and dedication spent on furthering our education of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, both in classrooms and on tuyos. Our Jewish studies classes spent countless hours discussing and debating various topics of the conflict. We analyzed both modern and historic maps and considered both ethical, personal, and practical sides of the conflict, all in a very safe and judgment-free environment. In addition to this, Heller High arranged for a multitude of speakers to come visit us and give us their perspective on the matter. We heard from the narrative of a Palestinian who grew up in East Jerusalem. We heard from a very right-wing farmer who lives in an illegal settlement in the West Bank. We heard from an American who made Aliyah to Israel and works in volunteer organizations helping to bring peace to both sides. We heard from a woman who converted to Islam and immigrated to Israel from England and now lives in an Arab village just down the hill from the kibbutz. In addition to this, Heller High worked to educate us on other social action issues in Israel. For example, we spoke to and heard from representatives from Women of the Wall, which is an organization of women whose focus is to promote gender equality at the Kotel. We even got the opportunity to pray with Women of the Wall at the Kotel on Shabbat. Overall, living in Israel for this significant amount of time has reaffirmed my love and dedication to the Holy Land. I love the language, the culture, and the people. Heller High has made me want to continue my Jewish education more than ever. Looking back at my time spent abroad, I find it has made me a more resilient and independent person, and I encourage anyone considering a semester abroad in Israel to strongly consider Heller High, as it has given me all I could ask for and more by providing me with not only a school, but with a family. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophie.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Oh, wow. Don't you want to go? Oh my gosh. It just sounds so fantastic. It's just incredible. Sophie, thank you. One of the things that I love about your description, Sophie, is the way that you naturally employ Hebrew in describing your experience there. That vocabulary has become your vocabulary, and it's just the way you refer to things. Tiyul, Madrich, Marcolit, is that what you called it?
Yeah, like the market.
Yeah. Marcolit, a tiny market. Yeah, I love that. this is, not everybody realizes, this is the Reform Movement's program in Israel for high school students. The Reform Movement really runs the most successful program for high school students to spend a semester in Israel. And they've been at it for a long time, and they also have a long-standing relationship with this particular kibbutz. I do, like you, hope other students will choose to have the same experience that you were fortunate enough to have. So, and thank you for sharing and for teaching us firsthand what it was like to be in Israel during some of the most dramatic weeks of the past year. Let's see. Let's find out what's going to happen this week and coming up at Congregation Beth Emek. Janice Flansbaum is going to share announcements with us.
Hello and Shabbat Shalom. I'm Janice Flansbaum, Secretary of Beth Emek, and thank you, Sophie, for sharing that. I've never wanted to go back to high school, but if there's anything, I would go back and do that if I were brave enough back then. We have lots of things to share as usual. Saturday morning services are tomorrow at 10:30. They are in person in the sanctuary. Or you can watch them live stream. It is the bat mitzvah of Alana Sexton. On Sunday, it's Torah study. Prophets are poets, the next chapter. Sundays, and that starts August 1st, 9 to 10:15. Please register online. And Shabbat services will continue in the courtyard. Fridays at 7:30, also on Zoom and live streamed. Please visit Beth Emek's website or the Once Around for protocols for indoor and outdoor worship. Membership renewal is happening and accessible online, along with high holiday tickets. Become famous as a singer in the Beth Emek choir. Rehearsals have become, or like me or not, and are being held on Thursdays from 7 to 9. Please contact Rabbi Milder if you're interested in participating. The East Bay Interfaith Community Gathering theme is forgiveness, and that's on Wednesday, August 11th, 7 to 8:15. The topic this month is, how does your community provide for those in need of forgiveness? And the speakers are Rabbi Dr. Lawrence Milder. Okay, I don't know if I knew that. And Dr. Abdul Munim Sambat Jitmaud from the Muslim Community Center. The Zoom meeting opens at 6:45 and the program begins promptly at 7. Please visit Interfaith Connect. Shabbat evening park playdate. Friday, August 13th, 5 to 7 p.m., an in-person event for our youngest congregants and their parents and or grandparents. This is going to be held near the kids' playground at Ken Mercer Sports Park in Pleasanton. Look up the map for specific area and details in the Once Around or on the website. And questions, contact Allison Friedman and Martha Tukalski. They can't wait to see you. Congregation Beth Emek Open House is coming up Sunday, August 15th from 10 to 12. And yes, there's another page. Whether you're new to the area or just new to Beth Emek, we invite you to drop by our open house to learn about worship opportunities, our community, and educational programs for all ages. And you can contact Janelle Lopez. Chalk Art Day. This sounds like fun to me. Sunday, August 22nd, 9 to 11. It's here at CBE in the courtyard. It's an end of summer celebration and to express your inner joy with chalk. And it's free. Pictures of our final results will be shared in the Once Around. Bring your own supply of chalk, but please no oil pastels. Need ideas? Visit the links in the Once Around. Well, they don't wash off in the rain that we don't have. Registration is requested. Panel discussion on anti-Semitism. Sunday, August 22nd, 4 to 5:15. The Israel and World Jewelry Committee is co-sponsoring a panel discussion on anti-Semitism, responding to hate, acquiring tools that empower us. The panel will provide valuable tools on how adults, teens, and young adults can respond to anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism. Admission is free. Do the mitzvah of giving blood or bone marrow, which is ongoing. Be the Match's website to learn more about signing up for donating bone marrow. Preschool registration is open for the next school year, and religious school classes resume August 29th. For questions about the program, contact Judith Radowski, and her number's in the Once Around. And as always, please review the Once Around or Beth Emick's website for links and details. Stay cool and Shabbat Shalom. Thank you.
Thank you, Janice. We are busy, that's for sure. Wow. We're going to continue with Aleinu in a moment, but somebody pointed out to me that people may not realize that everybody notices our beautiful ark, this fantastic portable ark, just like the Mishkan, the portable tabernacle that our ancestors carried through the wilderness. We carry this out of the sanctuary every Friday night. There is a Torah inside, so it's not our custom to open the ark for Aleinu, but since somebody pointed out, people may not realize that there's a Torah in there. We don't just wheel this out here. So let's all rise. I'm going to show you the Torah, okay? You see, it really is there. You get to hear it tomorrow morning. Alana gets to read to us from it tomorrow morning.
Was it made by somebody we know?
The ark itself?
Yes. Yes, it was made by congregants.
It was made by congregants, I believe, at a retreat. I think at a congregational retreat. It was a project, congregational retreat. We finally get to use. Page 282 for Aleinu. We're chanting the Aleinu at the bottom of the page. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol latek yudula liotzer breshit shelo asanu kegoye ha'aratzot Velo samanu kemishpachot adama shelo sam chelkenu kahem v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam v'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. You may be seated. Page 285. Let's read together. Let the time not be distant, O God, when all shall turn to you in love, when corruption and evil shall give way to integrity and goodness, when superstition shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. O may all created in your image become one in spirit and one in friendship, forever united in your service. Then shall your realm be established on earth, and the word of your prophet fulfilled. Adonai will reign forever and ever. Page 287. V'nemar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. Before we conclude our worship, we call to mind loved ones with whom we have traveled on the path of life. Those who died in recent days and those who died at this season in years past continue to influence us in the choices we make and in the way we show our love and compassion for one another. The company of this holy congregation brings us comfort in this moment of memory. As we recite Kaddish, we sense that we are linked in a common expression of support to all who mourn in our community, together with those who mourn everywhere during these difficult days. This evening, we remember these members of our congregation and their loved ones who have died within the past 30 days. We observe Shloshim for Michelle Daniels, Carl Pemper, and Barbara Jonas. I invite those observing Shloshim to please rise. And we remember those whose yahrzeit occurred during the past week. If you are observing yahrzeit for a loved one, I invite you to rise as I recite their name. We observe yard site for Sylvia Becker, Elaine Salzman, Howard Shapiro, Richard Schiff, Natalie Weinstein. And we pray together with those observing the first year of mourning. If you are observing the first year of mourning, I invite you to rise. Zichronam Livracha, may their memories be a blessing. We rise as one congregation, united in memory and compassion, to praise God's name. Mourner's Kaddish may be found on page 294. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah Ba'alma Divrach Hirutei v'yamlich Malchutei V'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei l'chol Beit Yisrael Ba'agala uv'izman kari v'imru Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah Mivarach le'alam ulalmei almaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal Shemed Kudisha B'richu Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechmata Da'amiran be'alma v'yimru Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba min Shemaya V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mormav Hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. Let us say together, Amen. Please be seated. Following our closing song, we're going to join together with Alana in a Kiddush and Motzi. And our closing song this evening is an Israeli setting for Adon Olam, which is on page 321. This is by an Israeli pop songwriter named Uzi Hitman. And got to wet my lips for this one. Because this one has a bit of a challenge to it. We're going to start it out slow and then pick up the tempo as we go through. Page 321. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Le'et Nasa B'chefzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra V'yacharei Kiklot HaKol Livado Yimloch Nora V'hu Haya V'hu Hoveh V'hu Yiyeh B'tifara Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra V'yet Nasa B'chefzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra V'yacharei Kiklot HaKol Levado Yimloch Nora V'hu Haya V'hu Hoveh V'hu Yiyeh B'tifara Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra V'yet Nasa B'chefzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra V'yacharei Kiklot HaKol Levado Yimloch Nora V'hu Haya V'hu Hoveh B'tifara V'hu Haya V'hu Hoveh B'tifara. Okay, that was the slow version. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Le'et Nasa B'chefzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Don't olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nefra v'yet nasal b'chetzel kol azay malek shimonik v'yacharei kikot hakol levadoyim lo taran v'hu ayavu v'hu yevatifar. Don't olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nefra v'yet nasal b'chetzel kol azay malek shimonik v'yacharei kikot hakol levadoyim lo taran v'hu ayavu v'tifara v'hu ayavu v'tifara v'hu ayavu v'tifara v'hu ayavu. Let's turn in the prayer book to, let's see, I think Kiddush is on page 5. Maybe, Alana, come on up and join me up here. We're going to pass around cups with wine and grape juice. Pick up a cup, hold on to it while we recite Kiddush. The white cups are grape juice, the red cups are wine. And, what's that? Claire, can I ask you to give me a hand? Could you bring those Kiddush cups over here? And, oh, you got it? Great. Okay, great. Hold on, we're going to get the cups first. Here they come. Okay, thank you very much. That one's for me, and that one's for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'm going to kick us off here. Are you ready? Please join us in the blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pari hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'yava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila lemikra kodesh zecher letziat mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta v'yotanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kodshecha b'yava uvratzon inchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh Shabbat l'chaim. And let's see if we got that challah. Eva, you want to bring that challah over to us? And it's on the next page. Nope, it's in. Nope, no, not that. All right, there we go. And, oh look, it's so cute. You want to pick up the challah for me? And, you ready to lead us, Motzi? Ready? Go.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam
Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat shalom. Why don't you share that with your family, okay?
Or did I take this?